Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as Emtothethird, and this is the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast. This is episode 43, which is kind of bonkers, and I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon, where it is summer and really beautiful. And it's been a little bit of an intense Cancer season for you girl. So many of you already saw this on my Instagram via Discord, but I did want to mention it here. So unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Moose, my little cat, at the end of June, and we're definitely still reeling from it. I'm definitely still reeling from it. A lot of you kind of saw her from kittenhood up until adulthood, and she was really young. She was not even 4 yet. She would have turned 4 in November. And she started off, I would always call her my reluctant familiar, because she was just such a pain in the ass when she was a kitten, as kittens should be. But she really became a constant companion to me, and spent a lot of time with me. So I noticed that she wasn't eating and she was lethargic. So I took her to urgent care thinking that maybe she had eaten something, which was very unusual for her. But you never know, and you kind of hope that it's something that she ate. But it turned out that her kidneys were not working. There could be about 1 million reasons why that was the case. But yeah, her kidneys basically were not working, and there was nothing we could really do about it. And so the most ethical thing that the vet and us decided we could do was to put her down. We were with her and we got to say goodbye and thank her, and it's been really, really hard for our little family. So that's sort of the first news. I know a lot of you enjoyed seeing her here with me in the podcast and also on live streams, and so I just wanted to share that with you because that has been having a big impact on us. So, and when they say it rains, it pours. And so very soon after that, we found out that a place that we had been hoping to move into was available. And so we very quickly ended up going through the process of applying for it and getting approved. And so all of a sudden we're moving, starting this weekend. We have some overlap with our current place and the new place, which is kind of good. I don't know. So anyway, it was Moose passed, we're moving, we're dealing with that. We had family in town for a week, which was so lovely. And also, they were in our house with us, and it's just, we were hosting. And then when they left, I noticed Maple wasn't feeling well. She was coughing. And so then, 2 weeks after we had taken Moose in, we spent the whole day at urgent care with Maple. And it turns out she has kennel cough, which she got from the dog park. I mean, and they were concerned because she's now technically a geriatric dog, which is so rude. She's a spry young thing, okay? Spring chicken. So we were sort of dealing with that. And then the last 2 days, I was not feeling well, and I had the stomach flu, which I haven't had since I was a kid. And so I was low energy, needing to chill out. So Maple and I just both stayed home for a couple of days, just moping around and feeling bad for ourselves. So I actually recorded this episode yesterday and the fan was on so loud that you couldn't actually hear me talking. So, you know, it's been a time. Cancer season is being hella rude. And I'm really hoping that things start turning around, you know? And I think they are. I just wanted to give you that little intro to be very frank about what's going on in my life, how I'm feeling, why my making is a little slowed down. Not that I need to constantly be productive, but I am usually fairly productive, and I have been working on stuff, but you know, it's just, these are like the ebbs and flows of life. This is something I feel like I've been very frank about throughout the entirety of my podcasting journey. And yeah, this is just another moment of that. So this will be the last time that I will be coming to you with this background. I'm going to be having a new space, which I'm very excited about. Oh, of course. I have to wait for that to be done. Okay. It's my phone. Hi. Okay, so this is going to be the last time that I'm podcasting with this background. I will be having a studio in the new place, which is very well lit, and a bigger space, and not in the living room, which I'm really excited about. And if you'd like me to do some vlogs about setting that space up, please let me know, because I do really enjoy doing that. And I feel like it's just going to be a really cool space. Yeah. When we moved to Portland 2 years ago, this was like a really great landing spot, because we went through a property management agency at the time. You know, we were basically ensuring that we wouldn't be scammed, because we were coming from across the country, and I'm really grateful for this little house for the last 2 years. But because we couldn't see it prior to moving in, we just really didn't know a lot about it. So we didn't know a lot about it, about the location, and it just does not have great natural light, and this new spot really does. So yeah, it's just such a good move for us. We're saving a lot of money. I'm gonna be neighbors with my cousin, and yeah, it's just gonna be a very sweet space. So wish us luck in the next 3 weeks as we move all of our stuff over there. Thankfully, it is across town and not across the country. But yeah, I'm really hoping that this will be a space that we can nest in and stay for a while. And it does seem to be setting up to be that. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on in terms of life. It is July, which means it is Tour de Fleece. I'm sure you've seen other people on Instagram and YouTube talking about it, and I've been really like itching to do some spinning. So I asked my friends in my Discord group if they would be interested in having like a very chill Tour de Fleece team, and we went through a bunch of different names because we had to have a cool name and not just like Emtothethird Knitting Podcast team. That's boring. So we're the Spinderellas, which is hella fun, and kind of based off DJ Spinderella, because yeah. So we have our little informal team, not informal, but you know, our chill team going, and I've been really seeing how everyone has been like inspiring one another, and just like, I wasn't gonna pull out my wheel, but now I want to pull out my wheel, and it's just been really, really nice. So I haven't done much crafting, but I have been doing a fair amount of spinning. So I thought I'd start by talking about that. So the very first spin that I completed was from a bat by Artifacts of Appreciation. So in 2020, when we were all home a lot, Lindsay of Artifacts of Appreciation reached out to me and was like, I've been binging your podcast. I've been enjoying it so much. I want to make a bat for you with all of the colors that you love. Would you be willing to receive that? And I was like, of course I would be willing to receive that. So she sent me this beautiful Emtothethird bat that had chartreuse and magenta and light pinks, and it was just so stunning. And I wanted to make it into a sock yarn because I'd never spun a sock yarn before, and I was really excited about it. And that's a lot of what she knits her yarns into. So I started spinning those singles right before we moved, and I had gotten a little less than halfway through the bat before putting it aside, and then we moved, and I really haven't been spinning much. I think I did spin something up, but I just have been, like, I've spun other things, but that has been sitting on the bobbin for like 2 years. I finally was like, that's the first order of business. I gotta finish this bat. I'm very excited for it. I just haven't touched it. So I spun all of those singles. They were like totally beautiful. And then I decided to chain ply them. And so this beautiful skein is what I ended up with. So I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. And as I was, working on it and thinking about, because I knit a lot of socks. Like I knit 12 pairs last year, and I've done that for 3 separate years. So I've knit a lot of socks in my time, and I know what holds up. And I love the way this looks, but I wasn't 100% confident that it would, even though it's a thicker yarn, so I could knit it denser, it's still mostly wool, and there's no nylon in it. So I just really wanted to make sure I could do something to make it last longer. So I saw a pair on Lindsay's Instagram that had mohair silk in the heel and the toe. And so I thought I could do that with this because I have some black mohair silk in my stash from Knitting for Olive. So I think that's what my plan for right now is. But I also picked up, let me grab it, some of these reinforcement threads from Lang. Is that focusing? I can't totally tell. Maybe, yeah. So I picked 2 of these up. I don't know how much yardage is on each one of these, but it is a wool and nylon blend. And I thought, I don't know how I would do this. I'm sure someone has done this before, but I would love to hold this thread just along the bottom, like the sole of the foot. But I have to think about how I would do that in the process of knitting that would make it not miserable to be working on. So I've got these in my back pocket. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of think and figure that out. So as I was talking about knitting socks, someone in the Discord recommended an issue of Ply magazine, which if you are a spinner and you haven't checked out Ply, I would highly recommend it. It was an issue that was entirely about spinning for socks. So there were a bunch of different people who were like, this is how I like to do it, this is the type of fiber I use, because there's so many, once you get into actually making your yarn, so many decisions that you can make that can have an impact on the final product. My favorite article of all of them was something that I would not probably do because I'm like not super detail oriented. I'm okay with this about myself, okay? People find that surprising, but the nitty gritty stuff, I'm like, if it's like big picture works, fine. So, in this article, what she did was she spun with the same yarn a bunch of singles and then plied them in a bunch of different ways. So there was a 3-ply, a 2-ply, a chain ply. There were like a couple where the singles were spun either with a Z twist or an S twist and then plied together, either 2-ply with one, and then like there was a 2-ply of the Z twist and then a 1-ply with the S twist all together. Like there were a lot of different variations that she tried out, and then she knit them into a little swatch. She sort of anchored them to like a block and then put a sander on top of it and then closed a suitcase. So the sander was running and agitating the swatch, and she would check it every 5 minutes and then determine, and then like basically record when the first hole appeared. Then she would mend it and then let it go again and see how long until it wore away. So in her findings, I won't give you the full spiel because I don't remember off the top of my head, but essentially what she found was that the 3-ply was the strongest. Again, there's so many factors that go into this. Fiber type, plies, how you spin your singles, all of this, right? But I thought it was such an interesting experiment. I love that she figured out a way to like emulate the rubbing against the heel, like all of that. I would highly recommend checking this issue out if you're interested in spinning for socks. I will leave a link to it down below. I bought it digitally from Ply Magazine. It was really exciting to just get nerdy about how spinning for socks could be good or bad, or better or worse. So yeah, that was a very fun spin. I'm really happy to have it done, and I'm excited to knit a pair of socks for myself when I'm finished with my current sock whip, which I will show you in a moment. So the next thing that I spun, I don't really have a total a goal for myself for Tour de Fleece. Like some people set a specific amount of yardage, some people set technique goals. I did want to try out some new to me techniques, and I had a bunch of Rolags from a creator on Etsy that I had bought from a while ago, and I was like, I really want to practice long draw, which is essentially there's like a couple of different ways to feed the wool into the spinning wheel. I think that's a simplification of it. But there's a few, so basically if you're trying to create a worsted spun yarn, which is when generally all the fibers are like parallel to one another and kind of fed in it creates a very smooth yarn, and that is what a majority of commercially made yarns are. They are worsted spun. So if you are doing worsted spun, which are the singles that I did for the sock yarn that I just showed you, you're kind of drawing the fibers like this, and you're slowly feeding them into the orifice onto your bobbin like this. So with long draw, the fibers are a little jumbled, and there's different fiber preparations to get that jumbled effect, and that creates a woolen spun yarn. The commercially made woolen spun yarns that we see out and about are like Brooklyn Tweed, Shelter and Loft, like Brooklyn Tweed's Shelter and Loft specifically. A lot of the yarns from Harrisville, which do spin Brooklyn Tweed, but anyway, but a lot of their yarns are woolen spun. woolen spun yarns really bring out the benefits of wool. They're very airy and lightweight and insulating, because those pockets that form in between all the bundles of wool like hold onto the warmth that we our body heat, essentially. So there's a lot of benefits to knitting with woolen spun, wearing woolen spun, etc. So it's really to the benefit of the spinner to be able to basically spin both ways. And long draw is one of the methods that allows you to get a really nice woolen spun yarn. So I've known that I've wanted to work on my long draw methods. And I have these rollags, which are a really great preparation for doing long draw. And so that's what I decided to do for the next bit of singles. They're definitely not as consistent as that last skein, but they're really fun. So these are the 3 skeins that I created. I'm really happy with how they turn out. They're all a 2-ply. 2 of them I spun the singles onto the bobbins and then plied them together from the bobbins, and then 1 of them I wound off the bobbin into a center pull ball and wound from both sides, but I think I over spun the singles, so that was such a pain in the butt to do. So I would try that method again, but I don't think I did it well this first time. But again, I'm just like trying new things, and I'm really happy with how these turned out. Not sure what I'm going to do with them. I was kind of looking at patterns last night, maybe like a big cowl or something, but in general I'm happy with how they turned out, and I do feel like I practiced my technique, and I'm just kind of figuring out how this works. So yeah. I did sign up for a long draw spinning workshop in October, which is like basically for my birthday, at the Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival. So I'm really excited about that. Me and my friend Emily are gonna go do it together. So that should be really fun, and I'm looking forward to taking a class, because I don't really take fiber related classes often. So I'm really excited to treat myself to this and, learn from a professional and see how that improves my technique and skills. And yeah. So the current spin that I'm working on, I did something that I have never done before, which was basically do some practice spins. So I have these 2 beautiful braids from Hello Yarn, and what I wanted to do was do a 3-ply, because I really have not done a 3-ply before. I've done chain plying a lot, I've done a lot of 2-plies, and I was like, you know what? Again, we're trying a bunch of new techniques, and I want to do a 3. So my plan is to spin 1 braid onto 1 bobbin as singles, 2nd braid onto 2nd bobbin as singles, and then to have a 3rd solid naturally colored single, and then to ply them all together. I have some dark brown natural roving, and then I have some like warm gray natural roving, and I wasn't sure which one I would like best. So for the first time ever, I did like a little sample. And so this was the natural gray. It's blowing out a little bit. There's that. And then here's the dark brown. And then with the remainder, I just did a little 2-ply. boy, not doing a great job here. This was spun a little loosely because I was just kind of finishing off the singles and I knew it wasn't much yarn. So I did a little poll on my Discord, even though I already kind of had an opinion, and basically everyone agreed that they really liked this light, this warm gray with the singles. The dark brown was just a little too much. I don't know, not too much, but just different. So I've been slowly working on those singles. I didn't really get a chance to work on them while my family was in town because my niece was here, who is just about to turn 2. And you can imagine the allure of a spinning wheel for an almost 2-year-old. But these are the singles that I have on that first bobbin. I think they look pretty good. And then I'm on the second one. I definitely wish, if any upgrades to my wheel, that I could get a bigger flyer and bobbins, because I am just packing as much yardage, as many singles as I can on this, and it's like way too much, and like it does sometimes cause some complications, but you know, I want to get as much on here as possible. So I'm almost done filling up the next bobbin, and then I can switch to doing the like gray, and then I can start plying. So hopefully I will have that for you in the midst of moving in the next podcast episode. Yeah. And of course, while my family was visiting, my sister-in-law and I had a really nice day out on the town and we had a really beautiful breakfast together. And then after that, I was like, what else should we do? And I was like, well, we have to go to Powell's. And so we went to Powell's and actually met up with everyone else there. They have a wonderful kids selection, which would surprise no one. And I picked up this book for Tour de Fleece. This is a really great book if you are a spinner at all. There's a lot of nerdy experiments like the one I was talking about in Ply, where it's like, we're going to make the swatch and we're going to treat it in a bunch of different ways, and this is what it ends up looking like, which I really appreciate. So yeah, this is a really great book. I will link it down below to add to your library if you are a spinner. And I think that kind of completes, there's Maple hanging out. I think that kind of completes the spinning portion of this episode. If you are a spinner and want some spinning community, there is a link down below to join the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast server on Discord, where we've been having a lot of chats about spinning, but also always are having chats about other stuff as well. So yeah. Okay, let's move on to knitting. Both of the projects that I'm working on are fairly easy because that's all my little brain can handle right now. And we're both also part of my WIP inventory video from like January, February, when I was sick with COVID. So the first one is this Grouse Creek pullover, which I just think is so cute. So this is a sample for the store I work at for the fall. It is using Andorra from Kelborn Woolens in their lavender colorway, as well as some Spin Cycle dyed in the wool in the colorway Rusted Rainbow. So I have made quite a bit of progress in the last month, but I am on to the just never-ending body. I tried it on last night and really it's just not, I haven't done much of the body yet. So I'm just making progress on that slowly but surely. I finally did add a progress keeper just because I was like, oh wow, it's so nice to see that I actually have knit like an inch and not nothing in several hours. So yeah, we're working on that. I'm excited for that. When my sister-in-law was in town on that day that we had together, I had to go to work, and I was like, you should come to knit night. She's like, well, I don't really have a knitting project right now. And I was like, well, I can hand you my just stockinette knitting. And she was like, that actually sounds lovely. So I handed this to her, and for the couple hours we were at knit night, she was just like knitting on it, which I thought was so sweet. So that was really nice. That we could like have that. It's very cool to have a family member who also knits. So that's the first whip, and it's just slowly but surely we're making progress. The other whip is this sock that I am knitting for my friend Zoe of Junebug and Darlin, and I talked about this all the way in February. But I was waiting to finish Tim's socks first. I don't know, socks are just going very slow. So I'm really happy with the colors here. This was kind of the main color that I offered her, something for my stash that she loved. This top part are my naturally dyed minis, which are available in my shop right now. This light pinky terracotta color is from the Fairy colorway, and this darker burgundy color is from the Akatar set. And then this main Tweety one is from the 2020 Farmer's Daughter Fibers sock squad, their December colorway. And then this heel color is from Earl Grey Fiber Company, and I can't remember the name of that colorway, but that's who dyed the yarn. So yeah, it looks a little funny because I'm doing ribbing down the top, but I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I have sent her some updates and she really likes them, so I just finished the gusset decreases, so we're on to the foot, and I'll just keep working on that. The main knitting time that I've been having has been at knit night every Wednesday, and this Wednesday actually was not there because I was not feeling well, and I'm still not 100%. Today was the first morning in like 3 days that I actually had any coffee, if that tells you how touch and go it has been. So I didn't even finish my cup, but there we go. So the last work in progress I have is actually not knitting and not spinning, but quilting, which has been so fun. So the last podcast episode I had, or maybe even 2 ago, I shared with you that I got this adorable charm pack of fabrics that were Halloween themed from Ruby Star Society, and I have just been like holding them close and waiting for the inspiration to strike. And at first I was really like, I'm just gonna sew them all together and it's just gonna be a big like a bunch of squares, super simple. And then I was doing some Pinterest browsing, and I saw some really cute half square triangle quilts, and the quilt tops were really jumbled. There wasn't really a rhyme or reason as to how to put them together, and so I was like, I think that's what I actually want to do. A little more interest, a little more quilting like effort from me, and I think it'll look really cute. So I went to Joann's, and I was actually not going to Joann's to buy anything Halloween-y because it is July. And I went and I was like, oh my god, they have so much Halloween stuff out. They had Halloween fabrics, they had Halloween decor already, and I was like, okay, well, maybe it is Summerween and I'm just leaning into this. So the initial thing that I went for, I just wasn't finding and wasn't liking any of the options, but the Halloween fabrics were adorable. And so I picked up a couple of those, and then I like really started to get a bee in my bonnet about working on this Halloween quilt top. And so I I was looking at a lot of places on Etsy because there are some very, very cute Halloween quilt cotton lines, I guess, for this season, which all start to come out around now. And there's like a couple of places that I buy fat quarters and just, quarter yard cuts, from online, and I was looking at the places that I usually do that, and like some of them were on vacation, which would have been fine, but none of them had all of the prints that I specifically wanted, because some of them were from art gallery fabrics, some of them were from Dear Stella, some of them were from like Alexander Henry. Like, I just couldn't find all of them in one place, and I didn't want to buy from multiple places because then the shipping adds up, and I was like, okay. Some places only let me buy a whole yard of fabric, which I was like, I don't need a whole yard of Halloween fabric. My God. So I finally checked my local fabric spot before placing an online order, and I noticed that they had just gotten in several bolts of Halloween fabric. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my local fabric shop. So I did. I had a morning. I went and got a pastry and some coffee, and then went to the fabric store, and they had some real cute options. So I had 2 quarter yards from Joann's, and then I bought 7 quarter yards from my local fabric store. And then I went home and just like started making half square triangles, just cutting out 5-inch squares, creating a diagonal line, and then sewing up on either side of that line, and then cutting them in half and then folding them open. And so I just finished attaching the first half of the quilt. I'm a little worried that it's not going to be as big as I want it. So I actually think I'm going to make it like expand it a little bit, maybe make a couple more rows of half square triangles just to like widen it a bit. But let me show it to you because I'm really excited about it. So here she is. So I'm just like thrilled with how it looks. Like, it looks so good in the viewfinder. I like that it is Halloween. Like, you can tell it's Halloween, but it's not just like black and orange, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to end up, I actually haven't measured it. My initial calculations were that it would be 40 by 60, but this seems shorter than that to me. And I think it's because I wasn't correctly accounting for the seam allowance. So I do think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I do have quite a bit of random fabrics from the ones that I've already used. And I went to Joann's the other day, and they were having like 70% off of all the Halloween stuff that they had just brought in. And so I bought a few more quarter yards just to add to the fray. And they've just got some real cute stuff, y'all. So these are all the rest of the half square triangles that I have to put together. And then these are the new ones that I picked up. So this is, look, they're just like movie monsters. I think it is now. So we've got Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, like, who else is on here? Like Dracula, a mummy. Yeah, just like a lot of good horror characters. I really hope that's focused. If it's not, I'm gonna be so annoyed in post. So yeah, very excited about that one. And then I've got just this like orange one with some little plus signs on it. Pretty classic, like, print blowing out. And then I got this very charming little ball jar witchy print with all the good colors in it. And then last but not least, I got this other witchy print. So yeah, got a lot to work with. I've been having a lot of fun putting that together. If you are interested in me doing like a little quilt tour, let me know, because I've made about 6 quilts at this point, all of which I love. I'm by no means anywhere near a professional, like, ew. Not for me, but I feel like I'm an advanced beginner, and I would love to share with you the quilts that I've made, because I've made a couple myself. I have a quilt top that is needing to be quilted, and I also have a quilt that Kay and I made together, and hand quilted and hand sewed. So if you'd like to see that, let me know and I can totally do a video about that. That would be really fun. But yeah, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just like placating myself and my whims at the moment. I'm still working on Kennedy's crochet granny square blanket, but that yarn is actually already packed up, so I'm sort of waiting to be settled in the new space to continue working on that. And yeah, so thank you all for hanging out with me today. I know it's a little heavier of an episode, but thanks for being here with me. I did want to mention that for this month's Emtothethird Sticker Club, which is a $10 monthly subscription that really just like helps me out so much, I decided to honor little Moose and to make a little moose illustration for the sticker club. I think it's very sweet, and I hope you will all enjoy receiving it and send good thoughts to Moose. So if you would like to sign up, there is still plenty of time. You can do so in the link down below. Any type of monthly payment to me, whether it's via Ko-Fi, which is also linked down below, or the Emtothethird Sticker Club, really helps me make this content for you and to continue doing Emtothethird full time. So thank you so much for your support, and thanks for being with me through the good times and the rough times. I really appreciate it. We'll talk soon in a new space, and yeah, thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.